Creators Union Live. Get ready for another brilliant conversation among myself and a few friends as we dive into music, the industry, blockchain, and all of it brought together with some philosophical shit. Let's go.
Welcome, welcome. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode, another show, another Wednesday of Creators Union Live. I am here with a few of my friends that will be coming back on stage in just a moment. But for right now, here's like my favorite point of this whole thing, which is right at the beginning. And it's time for some questions. Jeff, are you ready? You're on mute.
It's me.
Oh, it's you.
Oh,
It's not
okay.
your twin, it's you. It's like the real you. The
Okay.
you that's not animated.
Oh,
That
okay.
was pretty cool though, right?
That was really cool.
That was
We might have to show that again just to
amazing.
for
I
the
love
for the for the people to be like, "Oh my god, what in the hell was that?"
it. Right.
Cuz there might
Okay.
have been a bunch of people who missed it. Wait a minute. I'm looking. Why does it say I'm offline?
One moment, please, everyone. We are making sure Jeff is
Yeah.
online.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my Twitch and my Twitch is Oh, there it is. Okay.
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
That's
We're good?
better.
We good?
Yep, we are.
Awesome. Okay. Rewind. Let's
Rewind.
Hey guys. Welcome to Creators Union Live. My name's Paris Rose. I have here with me. Our faces are quite large today. It's kind of nice. I can actually see you today.
There you
Uh,
go.
I have with me DJ Jazzy Jeff. If you're watching this, you most likely know who he is. So
True.
yeah, let's go. Let's go. I'm like
Let's
excited for
go.
today. I feel like this conversation has been like 18 months at least in the making. At
Yeah.
least for me, it's been 18 months. Maybe for everyone else, it's been a little more, but at least 18 months.
Hmm.
So to dive into this anticipated, we're going to bring it back and get personal with it so we can go and dive in deep to the blockchain bit of it.
Okay.
So, first question. If your name were in the dictionary, what would the definition be?
The definition. If my name were in the dictionary, what would my definition be? It would probably be um let me figure it out. Get it right. It would be a versatile musical travel guide. Yeah, that was deep. That was deep. I thought of that one.
I'm proud. This is good. Ooh, this is okay. I appreciate you showing up today. This is so good. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
So, a versatile travel guide,
A versatile musical travel
musical
guide.
travel guide, right? A little more.
A little more.
Yeah.
Ooh. You
Mm-hmm.
you
I'm
said
drawing an illustration in my head,
okay.
and it's not fully colored in yet.
Hmm. A server of musical gumbo. I'm on fire today.
Good. Okay. Okay. All right, everyone, take that, put that in your pocket. Jeff, put that in your pocket. Next
Yep.
one.
Okay.
If uh if you could give advice to your 35-year-old self, what would that advice be?
Musical freedom is on the way.
That's advice, or is that like a premonition?
Don't quit.
More.
Um. Stay on the path. Stay on the path. It will all make sense soon.
How long of a period of time? I'm going a little off script.
Mm-hmm.
How long of a period of time would that advice have been helpful?
Ooh, 20 years.
Whew.
Yeah, a lot of faith.
Mm. That like brought me here. Wow. Okay. Whatever that was, I felt it. 20 years. I feel like someone needed to hear that. Next question.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I'm not going to draw assumptions. Have you ever questioned your sanity?
Absolutely, absolutely. I almost think you can't be a creative and not.
Hmm. Okay. Can you share more?
Um, you view the world different than non-creators or non-creatives. Um, you have a level of optimism that most people don't have. Um, you're a dreamer. Um, you believe in things that you can't see. And you're a risk taker.
How often do you question your sanity often? Often is subjective, but
I don't question my sanity as often as I used to. I think I started to lean very heavy on the positive side of my sanity,
mm,
um, feeling that a lot of the things that I questioned have come to fruition. So me questioning my sanity starts to lean more to the right side
mm-hmm.
of it's not me necessarily questioning, it's more confirmation.
Okay. Confirmation, certainty. Okay. I follow that. Hmm. When you're starting to question your sanity, what's something that you do to, I'm not going to say put yourself in check, but make sure you have your checks and balances like in order.
Um, Musically, a lot of times I'll go back and start listening to music that I've done in the past.
Mm,
And a lot of times I realize um, that I have been on the same path for a really long time. And that kind of makes me give myself a little bit more of a pat on my back because it it's almost like I can listen to something old and realize the dreamer part in that I made come true. That I'm like, wow, shit, I was doing this 25 years ago, like this. Um, I think listening to old things that I've done, or just completely removing myself from the space for a second.
mm,
The thing that I learned, creativity isn't on a clock. Um, that's why sometimes I'll miss dinner. Because when the creative switch comes on, you don't want to put it out. Like especially if you've had them times that it's been out for 4 months, and that's when you really start to question your sanity. Like, why am I here? And is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And
mm. That's good. That's really good. Thank you for that honesty. I love how seamlessly this always blends into what we're going to talk about. And I don't like this. I just love how synergistic this becomes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Last question before we bring everyone else up. That is, describe how you think people see you.
Oh man, that's tough. I don't know. Man, I think I have to, more than anything, describe what I wish people saw me as. And pretty much a musical outlet, from the confines of, I don't want to necessarily say the industry, but the confines of the way music is presented to people. I would like to be um the alternative. You know, if you want vanilla, there's vanilla. If you want butter brickle chocolate fudge, here I go.
Someone in the comments said that you're the golden thread.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh. I mean, I'll take it.
That's Sora from the UK. He's an independent artist, and he's been chiming in quite a bit as you've been responding. And it's so cool to see already, like the synergy in the chats here already. So good.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said pistachio, so maybe not vanilla, but pistachio. Love that.
Okay.
So I want to go a little. I want you to answer the same question. Just do not incorporate music at all. How do you think people would describe you?
I don't know if I can answer that question and not put
Give me one
music in
word.
it.
One word.
One word?
Hmm?
That's two words.
That's fine.
Rainbow sherbet.
Oh, so good. Okay. Let's bring up Brian. Oh my gosh. Rainbow sherbet. Okay. I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially after me and Brian talked about our 2 a.m. rainbow sherbet trips.
Mhm. Oh my gosh. So good.
I like rainbow sherbet. I would have liked to use that. I take it as can't be fit in a box. You are multifaceted, right?
Yes.
I'm not going to have Brian and James. I'm not going to have you guys respond to all 4 questions, but I'm going to have you respond to just one, so we can have a common thread, maybe a golden thread. Little. I'm so lame. I am so lame. A little connection there with our comments in the chat, and I'm going to choose the question. And the question is, if your name were in the dictionary.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
You blacked out a little bit.
We lost you. You had to drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Missed
Okay.
the whole question.
Need the question? Okay, so I'm gonna have Brian go with this first. The question is, if your name were in the dictionary, what would the definition be?
Rainbow sherbet. That
No.
no. I do like what if I was to unwrap it. Loyal, human, fallible. Yeah. Loyal, human, fallible, driven. Feel like I'm looking at a teacher grading my answer. I always feel I know I shouldn't look at it this way, Parisa, but yeah.
You signed up.
Yeah. So for me, that is it. I think the dictionary would describe me as a my character. I would seek to be understood. There's something in tech that became a practice where coworkers create a user manual. Like they write it like they were a product, they post it, and it helps other people understand them and how to interface with them. So I think those 4 words, I think, was the count. I believe would set the tone to better understand me and interface with me.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
That man, that write a manual.
Yeah.
It's a bar.
Right? Eric, you're up. If your name were in the dictionary, what would the definition be?
This for me, right?
Yes.
Oof. Unconventional, innovative, thinker, connector, bridge builder, cultural architect and designer, barbecue sauce lover, but with a tomato base. Bay Area native through and through.
Definition, not your bio.
Yeah. See,
Yeah,
I
I'm not
like
cutting you
this.
off
It's
there.
not as easy as you think.
It isn't. It isn't.
And both
Yeah.
Brian and James, you guys gave words that described you. You didn't necessarily give the definition. And they're not wrong. It's not bad. And as we have this conversation, I'm going to encourage you to dive into your own mind and think of what that definition really might be.
Well, I think
So
means yes.
Yeah, area.
alrighty. So to shift our conversation to this next portion, the portion that we're actually really getting into today, which is like all things blockchain. And what I like to say is like, why bother like with blockchain? Why? Little backstory so you have context to this conversation. So about 2 years ago, I'm going to say between 2 years, 18 months ago, this concept, this project came to be. What you see here right now on this screen, this is the result of a lot of conversations, a lot of ideation that happened 2 years ago. Yes, James will say it started 25, 35 years ago. And I'm going to say that the actual like pieces, arms, legs of all of it was really about 2 years ago. There's ultimately, this is my way of describing it. Here's this idea that came to be, okay, that would eventually be called Creators Union. There's a group of people that said, yeah, I'll go on this journey. Let's create this together. Let's build this together. What were we building? I don't think we really even knew. I think that we had an understanding of the end result, of what the end result would look like or could look like. But getting there, I'll tell you, from the hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know, of hours of calls, we had no idea how to get there. Because building on blockchain was something completely foreign to us as a team. And I say us as a team, there are people on our team that are not here in this conversation right now. But we had no idea what it was actually going to take to get there. And we got to sit with it and chew on it and ideate and figure it out and have conversations with other people to really figure out what it was going to take to build this thing and what it looked like building on blockchain. So my background is nothing related to blockchain. It's more of like the human performance, human development, all things of human optimization. And I wanted to dive deep into this, but I wanted to dive into it from a perspective of really getting down to the answers of why. Why, with all of this emerging technology and all of the skepticism and all of the fear and all of the excitement, you've got like all of these concepts, all of these ideas, you have so many narratives being pushed. You also have very real situations that are constantly happening. Of it, why bother building in blockchain? Because if we have something that can become viable, other than it's just a viable product and it works well, what's the why behind it? Because when you hit the emotion, the why behind it, then you capture the person and it makes sense. We can actually become, it can become just beneficial for so many more people. So there's a bit of context as to why this is titled Why Bother with Blockchain, because that's how simple we're actually going to go with it. We have this amazing genius of a human that understands he understands all the things blockchain, but he also understands how to communicate it, which I think is, he's behind you, Brian.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right.
He's also, he's partly Jeff's twin. So it's like
Okay.
Jeff's twin and the person behind you.
Right. Well, I got AI Jeff's twin behind me who I will query so that I can live up to your setup.
It'd be great to bring the twin back at some point, because I don't know if everybody saw that.
Yeah, we'll bring it back. But so we have Brian here, who has a really great way of breaking down some of these more abstract concepts to make them make sense in within like the market itself, make them make sense to become actual tools for creators and for artists. Gentlemen, did I explain that correctly?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
good.
Guys, this is huge.
Nope.
This is a big
Good
deal.
setup. Good
This
setup.
is a big deal.
Can I add one thing to that though? Just
One second. My whole theory in this thing of why bother has come forward from hundreds of hours of conversations between us, these guys with a bunch of other people, me diving into my own stuff. It's been like its own little nucleus of knowledge, of observation, of learning, of taking in teachings, both digital and in person. And so this theory behind why bother is exactly that. If I could explain it correctly, even just that little bit, then the why bother, I feel like we can get down to the bottom of it in this conversation today and provide some clarity for these beautiful people. James, go for it.
first of all, I just want to thank you for like really bringing the emotion behind this, because I think for so many people, they just see the technology. And I think it's really important to understand the emotion, the challenges with like trying to understand this stuff. It is not easy. It is not easy at all. And I appreciate you, Parisa, for coming from zero and really consistently asking us as a team, why bother? And if you're building out there, like these are the questions I hope you take away from today's session. Like it's not just building, it's not like building a website, right? There are fundamentals behind blockchain that we think are really important. The only thing I just want to add is there's a thing that says that the internet has been like read web, which is the other part of the internet that we know as social media has been read write web, and many are calling this moment read write own. And my theory is really the only way to get to ownership. I don't know if it's my own theory. There's a book called Read Write Own by Chris Dixon that's out right now. He's a venture capitalist at Andreessen Horowitz. In his book, he really talks about the power of blockchain and the fact that blockchain is really the one place where we can actually achieve autonomy and freedom. So one day that's been a really, really important piece that I have come to through my friend Brian, through Brian really helping us understand that. So take it away.
Love it. So a lot of the time to understand any kind of broad concept, we can apply the who, what, why, when, where kind of questioning, right? The five W's. Well, this is how I want to approach this conversation as well. I feel like we understand the who. We're specifically talking more so to artists, right? Music artists. We've got the what. Well, what is it? Blockchain, but Brian will go into what is blockchain. When, well, now and already yesterday and tomorrow. We've got where in the internet. Pointing up because
everywhere.
the internet
everywhere. That'll go into the why or the how as well. Right?
The why, exactly. The why. So it's the why and the how that I want to directly address today with the three of you. The why and the how. Because we've already discovered it. We're here right now because we've articulated it and it's been created upon. And I want to dive into that kind of conversation today. Any thoughts, any questions, any comments before we go?
There might be a need to explain to people that you're watching this on a non-blockchain version, let's call it. And when we say we've built something, we have stuff that's behind here. Selfish plug. if you sign up at creatorsunion.djjazzyjeff.com, that's actually where the blockchain experience begins. So I just want to explain that.
Yes, yes, yes. I think that yes, so we will dive into the what, like what this actually is that has been built. But the how and the why is going to make setting the how and the why is going to help make the what become crystal clear. Y'all follow me? Okay, good. As I'm talking to myself and seeing your little heads nod. Yes. Okay. So Brian, I'm going to throw this to you.
Yes.
What's blockchain?
Oh, you started big. I was hoping to get some pros in, talk about how we got here.
No, he have a beautiful answer. The first thing that came out of his mouth when we got on live. So we're just going in. So
all right, nice. Well, I'm going to do like I got in press training. When people ask you a question, don't answer that. Answer the question you wanted to be asked. I'll jump into why. I first just want to talk about the journey for a moment, and I want to say, look, we've been through ups and downs, but it's been awesome working with you. Where the journey started for me was being in the kitchen of the house Jeff was at South by Southwest.
Damn.
And we keep doing that. And so Jeff played this phenomenal track that, like, literally, I asked James to tell you, I didn't have your info, Jeff. A month later, I was still thinking about that track, right? And that prompted this quick discussion of, man, that's something you should distribute via blockchain, right? Over time, I think, that turned into all of us getting on the phone and actually answering that question. What is blockchain? And I think that's really where it started to click for everybody. And as someone will talk to later, now you flash forward a year and a half later, we're on the journey of building. But moreover, everybody on this call now understands the what and why enough that we have a number of realistic directions we can take. Okay. So now to go get in is one of the things I said on that call to answer what is blockchain, just to get it started, is most of us are old enough that we know what the internet is. We know what a database is, a place where you store informations and records. One way I like to describe blockchain and the promise of it that may not hit with everybody is, imagine a globally shared database, store of information that anybody in the world can update and write to instantly, and how it unlocks the ability for us all, without going through curators or gatekeepers, the ability to communicate and share information with each other, and then do it in a way that is secure and trusted. And before I hand it to you to make me break that down, Parisa, I'll throw one other very common description. You could think about, if you think about a ledger, I'm going to date myself. Remember, we used to get a debit card, and we all used to get the little book with our debit card, right? We write our charges on it, so we can balance and we know what is happening. Think about blockchain as a ledger, like that book, or like P&L or a spreadsheet of business tracks, but now it's captured in that globally shared database, and we all can create, write, and update entries. I'll stop there, please.
Okay. So it's an organized, structured system that can hold information and that's transparent for all to see.
Yes. Or picture a pizza. No, I'm messing around. Go ahead. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
I know you want an analogy more like that. I'll add one other thing. And people go, okay, that's the internet. The internet's everywhere. I can talk to everybody. I can share information. This goes back to this idea of read, write, web that James will talk more to. The thing with the internet is, for me to retrieve information and send it, all of that information lives on somebody's server somewhere. Google owns it. Amazon owns it. Columbia Records owns it. The catch here is, think about the internet, where all of this information that people are hiding within their companies and behind firewalls, now that's all out for everybody to see and interact with.
Okay. Does it do anything else?
Yes, it does. And I wanted to call out for everybody here, we didn't say why bother with crypto, which is what a lot of people associate with blockchain, which is really where a lot of both the excitement and the negative stigma comes from. So one thing blockchain can do is it can mint and create digital currencies, digital money, to replace paper money and allow people to instantly trade that back and forth without the need of a bank, without the need of somebody that may give you favoritism because of nepotism, or somebody that sees your credit score is 2 point, right? You know, it's freedom to transact financially. But here's the thing. The rest of that answer is, what can the internet do? Is like asking what blockchain can do. The use cases for it are immense. Obviously, one we'll lean into today here is how do we distribute digital content using the blockchain and make sure that the people that have ownership get an equitable share.
Right. Not yet, though. Pump the brakes. Okay.
Okay.
Well, because I want to provide context as to like really connecting the dots, because I'm saying this for even artists, for them to really be able to connect the dots for themselves so they can walk in to even ask questions from a more confident place. And,
Right.
you know, and I feel like if people are not able to even ask the questions, where they go with it? Nowhere. Right. So, okay. The features of blockchain, the fact that it's structured, the fact that it's systematic, transparent, these pieces and parts, why is that even important right now? Because we have systems in place. We have things that are structured. Transparency, I'm not really sure. It might be an illusion. I'm not going to put my opinion in that beyond that. But why is that even relevant right now? Why is that important? Is it needed?
I'd be really curious to hear the others, but let me start an answer. Still maybe a little bit too technical, but I'll give a real example that's coming up from chat. Somebody said digital money already exists with the bank. Well, in a sense, we have a way to digitally transact, but we're not actually trading digital currency. With a bank, and you know, if I wire money to my brother in London, there is still real state fiat that sits behind that. It's not digital currency. So one of the places, for example, I was working with what we call CBDC, that central bank digital currency. That would be a case where, say, the United States Treasury, instead of just printing US paper money, they would also mint a digital US dollar, for instance. And we're looking around the world, and you know, this is a blockchain use case. Why is it important? Because we are hitting a critical point where everybody is moving digital, not crypto, right? We go on a website, manage our funds, we wire, we trade. You know, there are still a bunch of communities in other countries that are cash based. And as we move more and more towards a digital footprint, those cash-based communities lose out. So one of the use cases of blockchain, and I'll skip some of the logic here, is the fact that we can now much more easily extend into these communities that are financially underrepresented, financially struggling, and enable them with blockchain-based technologies so they can conduct their own finance and they can trade and barter where they otherwise might not be able to engage with, enroll with, save with, sign up, lend, and borrow from a traditional bank. I'm sorry, that went a little deeper than I wanted, but the core of it is there's a real way, properly intimated with blockchain, to better empower not just artists, entire communities of people that haven't been able to participate financially.
Okay.
I do think Jeff or James answering
Right. Yeah.
the question.
We're going to Jeff next. I keep seeing your lips move, Jeff. I think you're ready to jump. I'm reading the body language.
No, you know what it is. Going back to what Brian said, I think that this whole journey for me started playing music for James and Bryant, and then the question pretty much kind of came out: why is this music not out? And I started going through my this disdain for the system that we have in place to put music out. It is 1,000,000% not fair. It is probably one of the most confusing things that I've ever been involved in my life. And just kind of having that conversation, I didn't know anything about the blockchain. I didn't know anything about crypto. When it was presented to me in a manner of what you are trying to achieve from a creative point of view and putting music out with a group of individuals, I think one of the things that I realized, the biggest hurdle that I think we have in putting music out is trust. Everybody doesn't know what this person is getting. There's so much unknown when it comes down to you're going in and you're putting your creative soul behind something, but you don't know exactly. I often tell the story of, being signed to a record company and telling my mom, and, almost like I got a new job, and my mom asked me how much money am I making at my job, and I didn't know. So I went to go ask questions, and as I started asking these questions, I was met with a lot of resistance, and I was a little confused because it's kind of like I just want to be able to tell my mom how much money I'm getting paid at my job. And the more questions I asked, the more I was starting to be deemed as a troublemaker. And one thing that I realized, I knew that wasn't the angle I was taking, but I knew when someone started to look at me as I was a troublemaker, it kind of made me realize that there's something that you're hiding for you to feel like that. And I've never felt comfortable. Every pretty much every step of the way, I've been searching for a, pretty much way to kind of navigate in this space, from, even doing things with the company STEM and chasing Goosebumps, and we sat down and we all agreed that everybody was going to take an equal share in the project, and everybody signed off, and we made this album and we put it out. But the situation with STEM started to go, different, that it wasn't, necessarily the viable option to continue to do that. But the only reason I was able to kind of do a project like that was because of the transparency, because everyone kind of understood, what we were doing. And that was absolutely amazing because it allows you to get straight to the creative part of it and not looking over your shoulder. So in having that conversation with Brian and James in Austin, the concept of trying to fix that came up. Like, hey, if we put this on the blockchain, we can kind of make this very transparent, that everyone knows what they're getting. Everyone knows how this, you break it down, that you can be included in this, whole piece from beginning to end. Like, that's where my curiosity just jumped off the page, because that pretty much has been what I've been trying to find in the music industry from the time I started. So it was kind of like, that was, like Parisa said, those hours and talking on the phone, that really became, okay, this is how I want to use the blockchain. If we can create a system that creatives can, do their work, be compensated for their work, and not have to look over their shoulder, I'm all for it. I'm like, yo, let's dig deep. Let's make this happen, because I plan on doing music until I'm no longer here. And I swear I am trying to get this shit figured out before I'm no longer here.
I feel like what you're talking about is more on like the more human element of it, is figuring this out would then enable these artists to create a community, like a genuine community of trust, because they have now the structure, the system, the tools that are embedded in trust because of the different elements of it. And now they get to actually utilize this, but also then creating a community of trust.
Yes. I don't really like using this analogy, but sometimes, people understand. The music industry is the drug game. And every once in a while, you have a drug dealer that pass out turkeys on Thanksgiving. He takes care of the community. At the end of the day, if you back him into a corner, he's going to show you that he's a drug dealer. I don't want to be in a drug game. It's as simple as that. I don't want to be in a drug game. I don't want to have to look for the good drug dealer. I want a system that is legal, that is honest, because the thing that I've realized, and I really am not trying to go this deep because I'll really go there. If people want to wonder why most people's first album is their best album, is because they have nothing but optimism in front of them. You want to know why people's second album isn't as good as the first album? Is because after the first album, you realize Santa Claus isn't real. And that's an adjustment period. And I'm looking for Santa Claus.
You are lighting up the chat, by the way. There's a rash of exactly. Amen. Fire, fire. Well said.
Those Jeffins.
This is like, you can ask James this months and months and months and months and months ago. I asked him, I was like, do you think that Jeff would feel comfortable even speaking the way you just spoke right now? Thank you. Literally, I'm not even in the industry. I've never spent one day in. And I love learning things that I know nothing about. So thank you for speaking to things that I feel like I've learned along the way. And thank you for your honesty. Genuinely. Wow. Okay. James, you've got the floor right now.
Oh, amazing. First of all, so much has been said about this this moment that we're in with blockchain, often sometimes referred to as Web3. I held this position in the record business, and I often say that I'm somewhat living through a little bit of PTSD around what I saw as an executive at Columbia Records. There, in my role, which was what's called the product manager, you basically were like the manager for the artists, and you managed their P&L, which is the most important thing, which means profit and loss, which means how much money is being spent. You managed all of the decisions that are made, from radio promotion to videos, the cost of videos, budgets, everything but A&R, which is generally in its own separate department. Done for a reason, by the way. We'll talk about that later. They're separated. The marketing costs are separated from the cost of making the record. My job was bonused by cost per record. So keeping the cost of the marketing low enough so there's more margin to market the record. But more importantly than even just the numbers, it was the reliance on the record label. For artists, the record label represented one, a bank, two, a place to fund tour support so that you can get out on the road and actually show people what you're doing. Three is radio and actually like getting your record heard on the radio. So you pay what are called indie promoters who get the records played on the radio, because kids, I'm sure you know that songs aren't just played on the radio because the radio MD or PD likes the record. And all of those functions create a dependency between the artist and this thing called the record label. I wanted to say that dependency is an unhealthy relationship at best. With record number one, as Jeff mentioned, it is wide-eyed and you are on fire and, you know, it is incredible. By record number two, you are generally what's called unrecouped, which means you probably owe us at the record label more money and you are upside down on your bank loan. I'm going somewhere with this because it's a direct correlation between what I'm talking about and why bother with blockchain. So we are in this upside down relationship with record two, where you owe us money and you've got to put out a record to make up the money you owe us so that you can continue to be in the limelight, to continue to fund your bodyguards and your homeboys and your entire entourage you've now created. In many ways, what Parisa is talking about in terms of a community, your community consists of your bodyguard, your mans and them, your street team, your manager. The challenge with that is everybody's working very hard. Bodyguard.
His bodyguard got him.
All right, that's the Illuminati. He was saying too much.
His face. His face.
Shut that man's internet down now.
Yeah.
You know what? They tried to get me. They tried to get me. So they shut me down. That's fine. So street team.
He was preaching.
I know. That's never happened, by the way, guys. That's definitely something.
It's been happening all day on StreamYard, unfortunately. There's something.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's happening is, and I love this and what you said earlier, Parisa, like it's a community, right? Truly, it takes a village to create a star. It really takes a village to create a star. And so you have this village that's really collective energy around the artists, around the thing, right? But not everybody's getting paid the same way. And that's why when Jeff talked about what they would do, what he did with STEM and Chasing Goosebumps, was for the first time, this was not blockchain, he was able to create a transparent way of paying everybody involved. Seems simple, but that doesn't exist in the traditional, the current traditional record label. Also, the record label is pretty much the only investor in the game. So they have the highest stake, they have the highest return, and they're not letting anybody else in to invest. So you could go to Nigeria and your uncle could be one of the wealthiest guys in Nigeria and he wants to invest in your project. He can't even invest in the project because the record label is the main investor. They hold all the equity in the deal. So your uncle Brian, who's in Lagos, can't invest in his nephew's business. Where am I going with this? This is why bother with blockchain. I often say, like, what if Lauryn Hill's Miseducation was an LLC? And instead of the Sony Music or Arista holding all the equity, that Lauryn Hill actually had the ability to actually create who could be on her cap table, we call it, or who could actually have equity in the business. Blockchain provides the opportunity for Lauryn Hill or Jazzy Jeff to actually call the shots in his business, in Parisa's business. It also allows us to take things that are assets. So one thing I loved about working in the music business is we create a lot of assets, right? we created music videos, and I came from the mid 90s glory years where we spent $1.2 million on a Fugees video.
Yeah.
You know, with $1.2 million in a music video, there's a lot of that. And this is 1997, mind you. You know, with $1.2 million music video, there's a lot I could chop up in that music video. I mean, nowadays I could turn that into a Fortnite game. I could turn that into an entire game. I could turn it into a music video that's also a game. And so what's interesting about the assets that we use in a record label, whether it's an EPK, whether it's a jacket or my Nas It Was Written notebook, which is a classic from 97, those things can now become digital assets that you actually also build a store around. So that's another reason that understanding blockchain for the future artist, the future producer is really important. And the last piece I'll leave with is, you know, just the ability to own something, to be in control of something. I came into the business through my best friend's mother, who's Dionne Warwick. And it's an amazing front row seat that I had with that family. Her niece is Whitney Houston. You know, Dionne Warwick sings a lot of songs by two men named Burt Bacharach and Hal David. Doesn't own those records and can't make the decisions on the composition on Do You Know the Way to San Jose or any of those things because she doesn't own it. She doesn't own, you got to go out and sing it. You got to go out and sing it because the casino in Connecticut is going to pay you a lot of money and you've built up a lifestyle and you don't have a record deal anymore, but you're used to rolling a certain way because you're Dionne Warwick or you're the thing. So you can't just roll up any old way. You have to be presented. You have a glam squad. For me, I think about those people. I think about my Uncle George Clinton. I think about all of my people that Jeff always likes to say we need to bubble wrap. Miss Shaka Khan. You know, they came up in an era where they really owned nothing, and they had to go out there and sing them songs.
Still,
we're at a point. we're at a point where we don't need to live that way anymore. And if you're creative, if you're an artist, you're a producer, you're a beat maker, you're whatever, you can finally, for the first time, actually control your assets. So yeah, that's my passionate plea for why blockchain. I think it's really important. I think we're just in the beginning. We are blessed to have someone like Brian on our team. We are blessed to have someone like Paris on our team who actually asks the right questions.
Yeah.
She asked the questions your mama going to ask, Jeff. You know what I'm saying? Like the questions of like, really, like, why? Where'd my money go? I put the money, where'd it go? We think we've built something that allows for ease of use and real simplicity. So thank you for that.
Before any of y'all jump in on that, I'm going to hold Lynette's role right now and speak to the
word nerd.
word nerd. She's not on screen, but she's still here. She's in the background. One of our shows a few weeks ago, when we first dove into the concept, the why, the need, the drive for ownership. And I hear mainly Jeff and James talk about, you know, finally owning, especially James, you really place a lot of the emotion into, I finally get to own and mainly control. So I think that one of the things that I love that Lynette brought forward that time was that, you know, are you really examining why you want to control? Not that it's bad, not bad nor good, but are you really examining the why behind it? Because it can just become another thing that becomes like a wild goose chase. You're chasing this thing because of you're not really clear on the why, or the why is rooted in other stuff that you don't need to have it rooted in, kind of thing. So, James, I think you want to jump in on that. I
do. Yeah. So it's a really good question. And I want to just share that when I talk about ownership, it's not even just the asset, but it's the actual railroad tracks. Like if you think about the Industrial Revolution and all the people who made money in this country, right? They actually controlled the actual infrastructure. In the music business, in particular in hip hop, we had to borrow someone else's infrastructure to actually get our train down the tracks. When I'm talking about ownership, for the first time in your career, you can actually own the infrastructure, so that means if Jeff invests in the infrastructure, he can launch his record, He can launch Kitey. He can launch Daniel Crawford across this infrastructure. And the challenge with the old model is we were paying 4-to-1 against the dollar to use their infrastructure, to use their mailing room, to use their travel agency, which, by the way, my boss owned a percentage of, to use their car services, which they marked up. This is the first time that we actually get to build actual railroad tracks. And I challenge you to study, the great builders of this country and the early entrepreneurs. And most people, I find, even in our community in particular, they actually underplay the power of infrastructure.
You know what? I want to
James.
say something real quick. It's funny, when Will and I got signed to the record label and we went in the studio, the first album that we did, we went in the studio and I pretty much produced the album. Will wrote the album, and when the album came out, they said it was produced by somebody else. And I remember I was confused. I was just kind of like, okay, so you didn't go in the studio. You didn't do anything. I pieced all of this together in my mom's basement. All we did is come in the studio and record it. And the only instruction that I ever got was turn the kick drum up. And I'm kind of like, wow, like, is that what a producer is? So now I'm going down this rabbit hole to try to figure this out. The next album, when we ended up getting signed directly to Jive, we go in the studio, we do the next album, and I lay some scratches down, and the engineer says, you should do that over. And I said, nope, this is exactly where I want them to fit. I did that on purpose. And he said, but I think you should do it over. And I said, no, this is exactly how I want them to fit. And he pushed play and pushed record, and he erased it and said, oops. Needless to say, I almost whipped his ass in the studio. But that was a lesson of I can never let this happen again. So when we got to the third album and we came in the studio, one of the producers for Jive looked at me and he said, you're really into this, because I'm noticing each album that comes, you come in with more equipment, you come in with more knowledge. This is something that you really want to do. And I said, yes. And he looked at me and he said, please don't ever tell anybody this, which this was 30-something years ago. But he was like, how much is your recording budget? And I said, $250,000. He said, take $100,000 and buy you a recording console and take $50,000 and buy you a tape machine and record your own album. And I looked at him. He said, listen, if they're giving you this money to record your album, you don't realize that they own the studios. So they give you the money and then give you a rate at their studio that you basically just give the money right back to them. And he said, if you build your own studio, then they give you the money and you guys pay yourself. And I built a studio. Every top member of Jazz Brass got in a car and drove down to Philly because they wanted to make sure that I didn't have a 4-track. Like, they came down to see the studio. And I'll never forget this feeling of somebody looked at me and said, he's figuring this shit out. Because it didn't make sense. And all I've been doing is trying to knock down these walls. And the wall that I knocked down first was the creative wall. Having your own studio, having your own space, I don't ever have to worry about someone saying, oops, I got it. I'm gonna make it sound how I want it to sound. I don't want to put it in someone else's hands. I got the creative. That's where Jill came from. That's where Music Soul Child came from. That's where Florgy came from. Because we had creative freedom. Even though they were signed to a label, we basically made the music and then gave it to the label, and it was kind of like, shit, I can't deny this. This is good. We just got to put this out. So we got the creative freedom down. We just never got the structure, the infrastructure. And I have been knocking on that door forever, just trying to get the infrastructure down. I'm like, okay, I know I can make whatever I want to make. I can make it sound however I want it to sound. But how can I get this to the people that would enjoy this and be compensated for it? Because if everything goes through someone else, you know, and not trying to go down this rabbit hole, but it's almost the same thing when everything shifted from selling it out the back of your car. I think Master P fucked all of us up. Once he started selling shit out the back of his car and he, you know, got this incredible deal, every time you open a door like that, somebody comes right behind you and says, we're going to make sure that this never happens again. I can never let Master P or Cash Money or any other entity make this kind of money in a record company system again. And next thing you know, all of a sudden we have the streaming platforms. And it's kind of like, okay, when I signed my record deal, I signed my record deals for albums, CDs, and cassettes. I didn't sign it for the streaming platform. So once again, I'm going to raise my hand and ask, can somebody tell me how much I'm getting paid at my job? And I'm a troublemaker. No one can tell me. You start telling me 0.000 cents per stream. And I'm kind of like, once again, this is that same thing with the point system. Why can I deliver papers and you tell me for every 10 papers I deliver, I'm going to make $5? But when I'm asking you, how do I get paid in this structure, you give me a point system that this is the only thing that is labeled and paid out in this point system. Or you give me this 0.00 stream count that I'm trying to do the math to figure out. So how many streams do I have to do to make $1? And what? Wait a minute. So if you telling me as somebody like Pharrell, who had a record like Happy, made $5,000 off of God knows how many streams, so the record company's cool with that? And then you start to realize the reason why the artists, the producers, are the only ones screaming about this streaming rate is because the record companies have ownership in the streaming platforms. They're kind of like, once again, just like a record, you know, putting out a record. How much money you make and how much money we make is two different types of money. And I'm looking for the alternative. I have been looking for the alternative for close to 40 years, and I'm not going to stop until I find it and make sure that it's proven.
I'm going to connect a few dots, but I want Brian, you to chime in before I connect those dots. Go for it.
Yeah, I just got to take a moment. I mean, first of all, it's almost like, I guess you got there. There's more to talk about. It's almost like episode done. Thank you, Jeff. Out. You really leaned into, the why. And there was a bunch of gems there. So I'm going to try to piece a few together and give it back. First of all, I want to start at, and it's a saying I use that speaks to a lot of what we talked about here, is what I call myself a technologist, somebody that has dealt with technology or leading edge technology across multiple domains for 35 years. And one of the things we forget is at the endpoint of any technology are humans, right? So I don't care if you're developing an embedded system that is controlling the limiter on your Toyota Corolla, but humans make it and then humans experience it. Now, if we translate to the music and what happens oftentimes and when things fail is when the technology overrides the humans either involved with making it or using it on the other end. So there's a core thing here about people building the infrastructure, building the highways, and then focusing more on the highways and the money it generates for them than the purpose of the highways, to help something get from one place to the other. Right now, what we've turned into in a bit, and this will get to blockchain with, before it was labels, they're distributors, the payola to the radio stations, right? Controlling both the manufacturing, marketing, and distribution channels. right? Now, we've gotten into this great world where you can argue that we've decentralized or democratized the manufacturing with amazing free low-cost DAWs, awesome. We've even arguably somewhat democratized the marketing channels. We can all get on social media. We can all get on the internet. But the infrastructure that is the distribution network is still ultimately deciding what it wants to do versus ensuring that it's taking care of the human, the creator, the person that is putting their time and soul into a creation, and the person that is servicing on the other end, right? And I love streaming. I love my convenience, but as you know, James and Jeff, had highlighted, and Chad is highlighting, at the end of the day, right now we're just dealing with a new version of the man in the middle that has a monopoly on the path to the mass consumer. And they have decided, I mean, I hate to say it, they are eking as much out of it as they can at the cost of the humans on the other end, if I'm making sense so far. And so as you're going to drive us to, we are now in a world, right, where, and again, if you're distributing your music on a streaming channel, I would argue, hopefully we don't get cut again like they cut James, right? You have a marketing channel, you don't have a distribution channel. You are getting pennies on the dollar. What blockchain can give us, when I talked about this globally, and I'll get a little, immutably shared database that anybody can read and write to, that allows us to go build something and use the blockchain as the highway. There's no toll booth at either end. We can get on, decide where we want to go, and we can determine what our fair return on that is. Sorry, y'all hyped me up. I could do 30 minutes.
No apologies. No saying sorry. That was amazing. The way you described the middleman, like that, I need to go back when we're done and go clip that, because that was the most cohesive explanation I've ever heard. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Can I please, James, go ahead. I got a flashback because I think we'd a bunch up. Those that joined, we had, I think, what was amazing conversation with MC Light that mirrored the progression that we had as a team. And Light had this analogy that starts with Jeff. You said you tackled the creative, you took ownership of it, tapped some of the business there. And then where Light's analogy kicked in, and she said, look, what I do is I'd press up this record, metaphorically. I'd go to Jeff's studio, I'd press it up, I'd hold it up in the air. A man on a white horse would run along. He'd grab my record and he'd ride off into the sunset. And I'd just be sitting there hoping, is he going to come back? When he comes back, is he going to give me $1? Is he going to give me $100,000? And what we were saying then, if you may imagine, is imagine if a robotic horse came up and you handed your album to that robotic horse came up, and that thing ran along and it had GPS tracking and it had built-in sort of revenue and point of sale. So now when that horse runs off, I know exactly where it's going. I can know everywhere it stops. And every time someone opens that album, cuts for the older of us in the room, slices the shrink wrap, that horse is going to radio back to me and let me know, just gave your album to somebody's playing it. Sorry, had to squeeze that in because
I love that.
That was
good.
That
was good. And I just want to say, as a former middleman and someone who sent his kids to college from being the middleman, as a young executive, many times there would be someone just walk in my office and lean over my shoulder and they would say, okay, Excel spreadsheet number E4, put $250,000 in that little box right there. That means a lot. I mean, I knew that every time I typed a stroke the key, if I put $250,000, that artist was going to have to recoup that number. It wasn't just me typing in on my old school computer. It was that the person on the other end of that is going to be responsible for that. And by the time they pay that off, by the way, the loan is so bad that you're really never going to pay it off at the $250,000. So yeah, the middleman in transparency, that I'm trying to give you a context of why transparency is so important, because we made decisions about artists' careers. We made decisions about how we spent money without having to call the artist.
Ever. I showed up. I did a record and showed up at the video shoot to realize that they were shooting somebody else's remix for the video, and didn't realize until they pushed play, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And they were just like, oh, we're going to do this off of the remix. And of course it was one of the record label's producers, but it was like, they're going to do it off of the remix. And I was just like, so you just took me completely off of my own creation, and there was no conversation. There was no nothing.
You know, one thing, the question that came up, that was crazy. That's happened. I feel like that happened so many times. I was like, yeah.
How do you say that so calmly, as James is frozen now?
They got James again.
Yeah, they heard something coming.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, listen, 30 some odd years of, you only can scream, I am somebody that I kind of believe that there's three levels of an issue. There's the problem, there's the emotion, and there's the solution. And I feel like the older that I've got, I have learned to shrink the emotional part down very short. I'm going to go out in the middle of the yard, scream, fuck, and then now it's time to figure out how can we fix it. So I am really on the fix it side. People, there were people that were asking what was Creators Union and Creators Mode Studio and why. And it's just, I have some people that are showing me a way to fix the problem. And it's not just my problem. I might be one of the only people that are talking up like this, and you start to see more and more people that are coming out the woodworks. Fat Joe has been very adamant in saying that the music business is a Ponzi scheme. And like, there are people which I don't like, that there are legends that are in the senior part of their career. I don't ever want to say they're old, but they're not controlling the radio and all the rest of that stuff now, that are finally able to come out and say, for all intent and purpose, there's been some bullshit for a long time, and everybody dealt with the bullshit. Michael Jackson dealt with the bullshit, Prince, like you name it. And you saw some of them really come out and say it, Prince tattooed slave on his face because of the record company. These are all issues these are not just my issues. These are issues that have been there. And I am just somebody that I'm kind of like, I want to get rid of that empty feeling in my stomach of creating something and doing what MC Light was doing, holding it up, the guy on the white horse take it and he ride away. I'm looking for that mechanical horse to send me back the data and let me know the actual thing, so I can tell the people that I made this music with the exact same thing and show them. I don't want anybody's money. I don't want anybody's money. Hey, I want your money to go straight to you. Because me being a creative, I know I can tell when you go in the studio with somebody and it's almost like they're looking over their shoulder. I don't know where this, I don't know where this shit is going. I don't know how this is going to pan out. I don't know if this is going to be to my benefit. It's almost kind of like, yeah, so we're doing something that's supposed to be so natural and being creative with barriers. And that's not good. That's no way to start a relationship. You don't get into a relationship saying, I don't know if I could trust you. The first time I'm going over your house, I'm leaving my wallet in the car. Like, that's no way to start a relationship.
Right. I feel like there's this common thread, as I brought up ownership and control the last time. I think this common thread is what I would describe as personal agency. Now, I speak clearly about it. And one definition is the sense that I am the one who is causing or generating an action. Another definition is that I am the cause of my own thoughts and actions. So basically, the way I would describe it, another way is like you have a sense of your autonomy and you're willing to exercise that. And what I'm seeing is that as a creative, as an artist, you have an awareness of your that is expressed in a certain way. And it's expressed in a certain way that you've already created, and it's going to be expressed in other ways that you have yet to create, that is yet to become expressed. And when you have these middlemen, as you guys have been referring to, these structures, these systems that have not been
middle persons. I'm sorry, middle. Everybody can be shady. Sorry to interrupt on your key point. Right.
Oh, I was like, did I say it? I was like, this is the wrong context. I'm like, it could have been.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't help it. I'm that kid in class. My bad. Sorry.
No, you're good. Everybody. I agree with you on that one. Thank you for the interruption. Okay, where was my thought at? As you guys have been just really talking about these record labels, right? And their role, their impact, how much they've really been shady, non-transparent, very withholding of all information. You never know what you're going to get. This is just from what I've been hearing. Obviously, I don't have the experience of it. I feel like what I'm understanding is that incorporating blockchain into a structure or incorporating music or the distribution of music or any part music and blockchain can help protect someone's personal agency. Because what I'm understanding is that these labels, these agencies, they can manipulate and take advantage of a person's personal agency as it comes to their creative expression and their art.
I just want to say, I know comment from it that, I forgot about, I'm thinking about finance, but it's agency around creative as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because the reality is when you're in a record label, you don't put out the music when you want to put it out. Actually, in many ways, the record label, especially if they're publicly traded, they're looking at, like what their Q3, Q4 numbers are, right? Or if they're, a corporation, let's just say, they're answering to a fiscal system that might say, oh, we need to move this record to Q4 because we need to hit these numbers. Those are the decisions that decide when a record's coming out versus, man, it just feels right. Summertime, this feels like a good record. I made this record in 60 days. You know what? And this feels like it should land on December 1st, 2024. You don't have that kind of agency in a record label. You can't put out 2 records if you want. It doesn't. The system doesn't work that way unless you control your infrastructure. By the way, when I'm talking about infrastructure, if you look what's behind Jeff, that's called infrastructure. He has his own TV network behind him, literally. He's invested in infrastructure.
Can I ask, guys, while you're on this, Parisa, I do a lot of interviewing. I like to ask questions. Is another impact of someone owning the infra and being able to control the creative is really certain artists' just ability to get to market at all. I'm under the perception that as we celebrate Hip Hop 50 and the music industry is built around, let's go get those 18 to 24-year-olds, right? That some of, a 50 plus artist can have amazing content. But if they went and took it to a label, they're going to go, no. I've had this theory for a while, but I am curious, Jeff and James, what's the take on that? Yeah.
No, 100%. 100%. Somebody like Big Daddy Kane, MC Light, KRS-One, a lot of these legacy artists are probably working more now than they did in their, I don't want to say heyday, in their radio heyday. Because the grown-up market space is huge. You have to understand that people who were fans of the Temptations when they were 20 were fans of the Temptations when they were 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. We all grow old at the same rate. You know, so it's kind of like, but the industry kind of made you look at it like hip hop is a music of the youth. And I'm kind of like, well, okay, what happens when we get old? Like, do you just throw it away? There is a fan base, there's a marketplace. But if the structure behind it is saying that we are marketing to 15 to 20-year-olds, they're never going to look at a Chuck D from Public Enemy as he has something viable to say that they can market and that, you know, they can sell. And then one of the things that I wanted to touch on is what James was talking about, almost from the record company point of view, that let's not forget that the record companies have a level of ownership in the streaming platforms. So all of these independent artists that are going directly to the streaming platforms are still signed to a record label. They're still getting a cut of the record label. That's one of the reasons why your streaming payout is so little, because they got to pay the streaming company, and the streaming company has to pay the labels to allow the music to go up there. You don't think that Spotify let all of Columbia or Sony's music go on their platform free? So it's one of those things that, you know, I started realizing that when people start screaming the independent thing, but I'm putting my stuff on Spotify, I'm sitting there like, man, they still getting something. They, you know, it's still the same thing. So like I said, you know, and that's not to say I don't want music on Spotify or the streaming platforms. I just want to be able to control it just like Sony does.
You know, the other thing that we're not talking about is, if you're a creative, you're an artist, you may make a record that's pop one year. You may want to make an entire Christian album. You may want to make an entire country album. I know this is not her.
Yes.
I'm talking about her. Now, that wasn't a country album, by the way. But you, I got to shout out Corinne Bailey Rae, who just went a whole different direction on her career and found her lane creatively. And I guarantee you the record label wouldn't support that. I guarantee you she had to have a degree of independence to release that record, which Questlove called one of his favorite records this year. You know, I mean, I think the idea of being a creative and putting out the works that you want to put out, the way you want to put it out, you know, the Tyler, the creators of the world, like those true artists, that only happens if
they got him again. Yo, they come.
I swear this is a good one. This will pay dividends forever. Every time he starts to get deep, he freezes.
Nope.
Oh, need to get this on a VPN.
You know what this is. You know what every time I drop a ball. Listen, Tommy Mottola, leave me alone.
No, things we just got to get on VPNs. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like I just feel like that, you know, and the other thing I just want to say, we are talking a lot about artists. This is not just artists. This is anybody who creates and is a creative that's creating something. This will affect when Parisa drops her first book. This will when Brian releases his first video game. You know, this isn't just about music. What we're talking about affects any creative who is delivering an asset, physical or digital.
I'm going to say, and let me just add to that, James, because you know the relevance real quick. Sorry, Parisa, I know we're taking over, but craftsmen, anybody that builds, right? Because this does go to the Amazons of the world. You know what? Boy, you can come on. I'm taking 30% off the top. Actually, you know what? It's 60, right? It is, it is, again, centralized infra for anybody that wants to generate a physical or physical good and get it to somebody who cares about it.
That's why I keep saying the creator economy is not just, you know, people making videos and OnlyFans. It's craftsmen. It's people who actually have something to sell. It's where Etsy started. It's a lot of those ideas of products that blockchain will affect, and how you pay the person who made the wood. When you think about, if you're making something and you're going on Etsy and you build a mug or you build a thing, you can actually now pay your vendors. You can change the game and how you pay people.
Okay, you got me going. You got me going real quick. But so now you picture a world where we start to get more into the technical, right? You imagine a world where I'm building a chair, James, right? And just take this analogy, y'all. And I need some metal, I need some wood, I need some sand, some sanders. But I don't have money for it. Well, here's what I can do. I'm going to use blockchain words. I can tokenize and fractionalize my sales. So now for every chair I sell, I can pay a fraction back to the guy that gave me the wood. I can pay a fraction back to the woman that gave me the paint. Right? These are the type of things that blockchain can support.
Okay, hold on.
Yep. Over to you, Farisa.
Yeah, my thing was stuck per usual. I mean, I say per usual for today. It's been a little while.
Barely, it's like an echo.
I love that Lynette is running interference with our tech, or the IT hiccups, is what it was referred to on another stream that I was on today. So I like the IT hiccups, because it's a way to address frustrations that are gonna still be there no matter what, Okay, so I want to get a little more clarity on this personal agency piece. From not considering what's already been mentioned, Jeff, is there anything else that this sense of personal agency, is there anything else that could be, I don't want to say offered, because that's not the way I want to describe it, but is there anything that we're not seeing yet? We're not clicking yet in terms of music, in terms of like the entire experience of an artist? Unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good now.
It is almost unlimited, because we have never had the ability to tap into that. I almost feel like when you see these guys like La Russell and the guys that throw their own concerts and have pretty much mastered their own audience and their own fan base, they're doing things that people in the music industry didn't really think of, because it's theirs. Like, when we weren't in the position to make those decisions or try to come up with creative ways that we can reach our fan base, if it was up to someone else in a record company, if we're not used to making those decisions, our brain doesn't go there. Our brain doesn't really think about, hey, we can, we can sell, we can sell merch. We can do an exclusive merch drop. We can, if you own your eyeballs and you own your system, you can make projects that are specifically for a group of people. I can make a special thing. I can then your brain starts to go down this rabbit hole of, there are so many options and so many things that you can come up with. Sometimes it's really hard to talk to somebody that's under a structure, because they don't get a chance to look at things in that aspect. They're kind of confined.
Okay, I'm connecting so many dots now. Thank you for saying that. Even though it wasn't anything specific, it was just the overall, like, really just rethinking, unlearning, and then relearning something different, something new. Because I've experienced that element of unarticulated and undiscovered freedom in other elements of my life, not with music or blockchain, because both are not my world necessarily. And there's definitely a learning curve there. And I
Mhm.
think that when there are more people that are doing it, even if they're doing it on their own, which I feel like that's kind of what the case is right now. A lot of people are doing diving into this stuff, but independently in smaller groups around. And I feel like the more and more people that are diving into these conversations, number one, number two, actually taking the time to learn some of these structures and kind of going through like what could this look like, just taking one example and then really diving into like what could this expand out to be. I think that that learning curve will really actually change and be experienced so differently. And
Yeah.
um
Can I say something for first of all, you guys, this is a community, and we want you to come join us. We want you to spend some time with us. We have a lot planned, and there's the Creators Union website. What you just said, Parisa, would be an amazing exercise for our members. Like, we take one idea and we basically hack on it. And we said, what would it look like really, like when Brian went through that chair idea? The perfect way to learn blockchain, right? And that's why we've created Creators Union. We've made it dumb easy for you to come in and experience it. First of all, when you go to creatorsunion.djjazzyjeff.com, you're gonna basically buy your membership and you're gonna be on chain. You're gonna be already on chain. So what used to be a little daunting, we've made really easy. We are really trying to reach what we call non-crypto natives. So you didn't have to participate in the NFT run of 2020 and 2021. We don't need you to know anything but your credit card, where is it in your wallet, and what you pay to come in this community. That's what you paid for a Starbucks this week. So it's with this kind of knowledge is really why we're here. This particular show is for us to kind of tell the whole world, but we have an entire community that we're starting to build content specifically for, and this content, these workshops and these nights will be available inside our community.
right, I will say that I was able to successfully get on chain buying my first token, I think is how you would consider it or call it, without any instruction. I was able to do it by myself, completely independently. And this stuff has always been so overwhelming and very just daunting to me. And the fact that I was able to do it by myself, I was literally jumping up and down, like dancing. I was like, this is amazing. Like, I did this. This is a big deal. Like, oh my gosh. I was so excited because it's even being plugged into it. It's just felt so overwhelming. And there's just so much to figure out, to learn, to know, all the things. And so I'm saying that from the point of, if I'm asking the why bother of even blockchain itself, I'm able to purchase my token, my membership, and be on chain now without anyone's help. Like, that's how easy we've created it to be, with a lot of challenges, but we got there. Yes, Brian.
No, and I was going to say, and now, well, first I want to say how happy I am. Everybody on this call is now an NFT holder. But, and you guys have learned about blockchain and non-fungible tokens, but you don't have to. So Lynette Towns, I was having fun when you guys stood the site up and we were doing testing, going, hey, go ahead and sign up, use this code, and then being able to go, well, you now own your first NFT. And then this sets the stage, right? Back in line with what you were saying, Lynette. That's the seed to go, okay, first step is there. You're on chain. You have an NFT in what we call a custodial wallet. Now, as part of the community, we can start to help you carry that thing other places and use it. For instance, are there creators here? Go use this to go as a member and rewards to go get a discount on a Pioneer DDJ, for instance, SBDDJ, or I'm sorry, I'm getting the wrong model number. But that's what I want to say. I'm proud. I was celebrating it with people, my wife and others that purchase NFTs. And then this is the start of the creator's journey into this new space.
Heck yeah. So we're going to be closing up here, guys. But before we do, I like to give the gentlemen on stage their final thoughts, their final words, their aha moments, whatever you'd like it to be. Let's go, Brian. We'll go first with you.
while we're talking about Creators Union, I do want to add, I know it's something you guys were going to mention, that and I believe it's going to be next week. We will be splitting this stream, and there will be an opportunity for members to have a more intimate experience and more directly dialogue with Jeff and friends. But with that, I want to go back to say I call myself a technologist, something you set up at the top, but technology without a why, a what without a why, does not have longevity, right? And so it is important that we're having this conversation not only amongst us on the stage to understand the why, but that everybody else does. And the why is more than I'm going to buy a Bored Apes Yacht Club NFT and I'm going to watch the thing skyrocket, or I'm going to hold Bitcoin. The why is because we now have access to a technology that, when understood and engaged properly, I'm going to bite James for now for perpetuity on this. It allows us to not only use decentralized infrastructure, but to build our own and own it. And I think that can unlock more around distribution, marketing, community, the new way, or the way we engage with music in the new world, to bring that full experience that many of us so much appreciate. And I think, to add lastly, is that just triggered is what is important is when I think about individual artists, and there has to be a solution for the power of unification while giving the individual agency. So we have to be careful about somebody saying, I built new infra that you can own for any artist that comes along. Because what ultimately is going to happen is you are leaning back into the middle person. So engage with trusted people, teach yourself, learn yourself, and then go build that infrastructure, that highway that you can control. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dawson. James.
Wow. Pretty good. So for those that don't know, I went to high school with this fool right here. So it's good to just see that he can put two sentences together these days.
Okay. I'm going to let that slide.
Come on now.
No, he's a brilliant man. Shout out to Palo Alto High School. One thing, just want to off the bat, Parisa, myself, and Jeff are going to be in New York City next week for a few select members. We are going to be doing this live. And if you're a member, it has benefits. And we'd love to have you in New York City. A few select members will be able to hang out and watch this taping next week live. So yeah, make sure you get on the dashboard and reach out if you are in New York City. Well, I just want to say that, like, many of these conversations started in 1997 at ATOJ on 3rd between Spring and Callowhill. And it was during that time period that I really thought that we would get to a place where we'd have a direct access to our fans. It actually, as a middleman, I was confused by all the other middlemen that were involved. I was sitting in a tower, confused that all these things were necessary to actually get the record to you, the fan. It's exciting to be here. Honestly, this feels like my entire career at this particular moment. And I'm here, man. What I didn't tell the people at Sony Music is they paid me a lot of money, but I would have done it for free. I love music. I love music, man. I'm a b-boy at the heart. I'm a vinyl collector at the heart. And what I truly want, and why, the why behind Creator Mode Studios, is I truly believe that creators deserve an opportunity to be, to have their music go as far as they want to go, and to earn a living, to actually earn a living, and most importantly, to have fun. I committed to being a better DJ because of Creators Union and what we're doing here. And I'm taking it seriously. I'm training in the dojo, but I'm also thinking about, like, my mixes. Like, can I put them on chain? Can I make my own edits? Can that be on chain? Once you get into this, what I guarantee will happen, you will spin up all kinds of new business ideas because of the possibilities. So to Brian's point, get involved, get educated. The only way you're going to learn is to get in the game. And we've offered a way to you to get in the game literally by getting your first token. So thank you, Parisa, for moderating yet another great week.
Yeah, today was fun. And I'm saying that surprisingly, today was fun because it's blockchain. I mean,
yeah,
this ain't my favorite topic. This is something that I hold so much like I'm like, okay, relax. I'm going to intake information because I've been doing this for like 18 months straight. And it was enjoyable. Like, that's huge. This is amazing. And I feel like from the various chats that I was able to check out, people are just, it's connecting so much, which is the point. It's the point. It's not about how great something was. That's the point. And I'm grateful that the point has landed. So I personally learned deeply about this connection of personal agency today. And for me, that's crucial because that really impacts how a person is experiencing life. And because, yes, I am so much focused on the human experience and how each person is showing up individually, the fact that you can have this opportunity to express and to create and to distribute or to release whatever and not have it manipulated. Yeah, maybe the framework and all of it gets to be a more like well-oiled machine. More people get to learn about it, more people get to know about it. But the fact that that exists, like, that'll impact a person's entire life. It will. How could it not? And for, like, honestly, for me, I'm just going to sit with that one for a while because that's huge. That'll change a person's life. Therefore, it has a ripple effect to change those in their lives, their family members, their kids, their siblings, their parents. That's huge. That's huge. The fact that we don't have to feel, or artists don't have to feel so taken advantage of or so manipulated or always having to watch your back, as Jeff was describing earlier. The fact that you know that there's clarity, there's transparency, and you know what's going on in the next step and the steps behind, like, that's everything. So, gentlemen, thank you for today's conversation. Thank you for going really simple with it initially so that we could go really detailed in this deep dive. And Jeff,
Teresa,
yeah.
oh yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I thought we were cutting out. I'm butting in. I'm that kid in class again.
It's all good. I'm used to this. I'm good. I can hold my own amongst the three of you. So I did want to thank Jeff for the energy that you brought today, but like the conviction that you allowed yourself to share today. I see that many people, it really impacted them in a really beautiful way in the chat. So exactly. I did. The first answer, it was like, you were there, you're showing up, you're here. Yes. So to close out, guys, as James mentioned, we will be experiencing a whole different environment next week. So join us, dive in. Let's do this, continue to do this together. And you can know that I'm going to ask all the asinine questions possible. And before we totally close out, though, we're going to finish off with Jeff's twin. It's called a digital twin. It's his little guy that I enjoy and have fun with. Brian's going to bring up, James, if you could bring up the twin so we can experience the twin. And then after the twin, after we've got the other Jeff, then we're going to close out with some music.
Oops, I fully lost my window. I want to be sure I didn't miss something while I was multitasking. Did we get the final words from the real Jeff before the digital Jeff?
The real Jeff's on mute.
Here's what we're gonna do.
And yes, he
Take
gave
the-
his final words. Yes.
Okay. Again, I'm that kid in class. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna show you guys are gonna see it load up. Shouts to Rappaport. You're gonna see behind the scenes, and you're gonna get a chance to see the digital twin and our AI Jeff take Jeff into some music here.
Wait, can I one thing? It's important to note. This twin is what you receive as a member of the community. You can ask this twin questions about Jeff's production and DJing. This twin has studied hours and hours and hours of DJ Jazzy Jeff DJ and producer skills. So really important. You can ask it questions. We're using it quite differently today.
All right. Take us in, Jeff.
Why blockchain? I have been looking forward to this moment for 40 years. This is the age where the next flow tree, Jill Scott, can own, build, and own their creative and path to fans, the Mag Mob and playlist, to the Creators Union, to full agency around creative and distribution. Stay with us while I curate some tracks and join next week.
All right. So the Brian, the guy that types is not nearly as smooth as Jeff. But with that, thank you, AI Jeff. We'll hand it over to the real one.
That was so good.
Oh man, I love it.
All right, Jeff, it's all you. Take it away.
I hear it. It's low, Jeff. I hear enough to know I want to hear it all the way. Not line noise. There's a line noise coming in over it when you turn up the volume.
Just imagine it, guys. Just imagine the music.
No, I gotta hear it. He was there we go. Queen Lynette.
You see me Deshaun Jackson on wax, I've gone lector. Listen for the lesion, leave before the lecture. This is just a texture, a tease from the flesh of someone who's seen both sides, from chemo to a Tesla. Back on the lower side, beneath Tribeca. Blackened with lowered eyes, I rise in the Mecca. Here go the million of flows I own. Retreat, they duck and defeat, delete. They gon' understand by the end of this song, I'm on top, son. My flows be lighting up the block, son. She told the bros I was hot, son. Hot, son. I rose, the money, it grows, it don't stop, son. It's on brand, a fan over the godson who got some in the can to spin the block, some. Rock one, rock a few, all to spin around one rock. Who hot as lava too? This how the lava spew. Miracle spewing lyrical molecules, rapping like he's Shiggy and shooting rays inside of you. A side of, show me a side of me inside the sun. The same star in you, they tried to hide it from you and I, but it's time to align. Where my Leos, my Virgos, and my Geminis. I need Taurus, Libras, Aquarius vibes, from the Caps to the Pisces and Cancer signs. And if you're Scorpio or you're Sagittarius, hit the Aries and tell them don't be mad at me.
Like that.
Ooh, wee!
We out.